Hello, welcome to Laura's Painted Minis. I am Laura, and today we are going to work on some basing. So I'm going to start off by getting down some modeling paste onto this, because we definitely need to cover this slot. Here's what I'm using. So it's like some goop, and it'll dry and harden, and then I can paint over it. I got my new computer all set up and everything with got all the programs downloaded. That's what I'm using right now is the new computer, which already I can tell a difference. Like I'm just noticing, I was looking at the CPU percentage, and on my last computer, I think it was averaging like 10 to 20% each stream. Whereas, like, I haven't seen this, I haven't seen it hit 2% yet. So that's a pretty big difference. So the nice thing about flexible modeling paste, I mean, it's in the name, it's flexible, but it's also easy. Like if you, as you just saw I did, I got a little bit goop on the shoes, and it does take a while to cure. And in this case, that's a good thing, because I can just wipe it off of the boots, or, you know, off the mini, no problem. And this is thick enough that I don't have to worry about it, like, really settling in or anything into the cracks here. Like it'll settle in a little bit, obviously, but not so much that that'll just ooze out the bottom of the base. So I can just use this to cover up that slot. And I'm just using, so the tools I'm using, I just looked up like metal shaper tools, I think was on Amazon. Or actually, it might have been metal sculpting tools. And you can find ones with varying amounts of tools. I think mine was just a set of 4 that have double ends, so something different on each end. And that's more than enough for me, because I don't do a ton of sculpting. Pretty sure there might be a cat hair in here somehow. But yeah, I'm just right now just kind of getting the whole base covered. Here it is. And then I'll worry about kind of actually shaping it a bit more. I'll probably just go for muddy texture of sorts, or soil, you know, muddy soil. Nothing too fancy or anything. I'll get these, I'm trying to get right up into the boot here, and then I'll go back and try and wipe off where I've gotten it onto the mini. Like I said, it doesn't dry quickly, so that's makes it easy for wiping off areas that you didn't want it on. But yeah, it was fun just figuring out new stuff on the computer, on the new computer. I actually customize the backlight on the keyboard now. The other one was just like a very like standard silvery white. And this one I can actually create like 4 different profiles and, and such. So that's kind of fun. I still need there's a bunch of files that I just basically was able, they were small enough that I was able to just email them to myself. So those I still need, I still need to actually go and download all of those. Still have the old computer, so, because, I don't know, I didn't do everything. I just did stuff that I knew for sure that I'd want or need or something in the next several months. Or however long it takes to get like an external hard drive. Okay, so that's pretty good. Like I said, I wasn't really gonna do anything too fancy on that because I'm gonna just kind of paint over it, and then I've got kind of a mix, got a forest mix that I'll glue on of stuff, mixture of different flocking and stuff. I'll glue on here and there. Probably add, I've got like some of this stuff too. It can be kind of like bushes, build up the foliage. I'm not really sure, like, this is for a player who didn't really do much of a background. They did like a very basic stuff of the, like I gave her access to the roll tables that are in the Xanathar's guide. And she just did kind of like some of the basic ones, which is fine. Not everyone's into that. You know, people have different reasons or different things they like about role playing games. Wasn't gonna like, it already kind of bugged her a little bit about making sure she got something of a backstory. So kind of just took that as a hint of like, you know, that's not the part of role playing maybe that she's as excited about. Oops. Just trying to make sure I have a clean edge on around here. So there we go. And I don't mind that there's some texture left. I'm not going, like I said, I use this for the reason of I'm kind of thinking, you know, leave it there for like a mud soil type texture layer, and then I'll build on it. I'll paint it probably soil like, and then build on it with the various flocking and stuff. But for now, that just needs to cure. And I forget how long it takes to cure. I could probably look real quick in case you're wondering. Directions. Doesn't really say time. It will dry into a very hard, flexible matte surface, which is fine because it's just gonna be on a base. There's not really gonna be much pressure at all put onto it, so it's fine. That's still gonna be a little flexible. If I were like trying to make something that was gonna be have pressure put onto it, I probably wouldn't use that. All right, there are things that I need to touch up on both of them, but I figured it'll be more fun for you guys to move on to the basing. So I'm getting out that dragon black color. And I know I mentioned it towards the beginning when I was starting this, but I'm gonna, for the sake of it still being able to make sense in my homebrew world, I'm gonna actually paint it as a like ruined statue. And I even like, when I was cleaning off mold lines, I just went ahead and carved into it to just really lean into that idea that it's a stone carved dragon head rather than a real dragon head. Zoom in a bit more, I guess. Now that we're on the just painting. And I'll do something similar to the area that's over here that she's standing on. There's kind of already some similar like that similar mud, soil, like ground texture there. So they're both for the same player because she just didn't know which one she wanted. And I told her I was fine with just picking up both. So yeah, I've been wondering why both of them look like with have the same exact color scheme. That is why. There. Sorry, I just remembered that I've been actually boosting the gain on my mic since I have kind of a soft voice, and so I just only remembered to look at that. So if I'm suddenly louder, that'd be why. And I had to like OBS doesn't have like a cloud storage or anything, so I had to reset everything up. And decided to have a little fun and try out a little new element on the page. You can let me know if it's too distracting. It's my birthday on Good Friday, so this week I am making some tiramisu. And this morning I went to 2 different stores just to find some ladyfingers. I tried making some on myself over the weekend, and I must have overmixed it because I know I got the egg whites pretty much perfect when I first whipped them up. But when I added them to the rest of the mixture, I must have overmixed everything because they came out flat. Super tasty still, but flat. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Gonna get some brown liner out and just kind of do a little bit of that area there where it'll be soil basically while we're waiting for the dragon to dry. And we've got a little bit of tan shadow here too that I'll use in the mixture, in the mixture on the dragon itself as well. But I'll use it on it'll work for both adding an interesting complexity to the stone. Oh, there are some areas there. I did not get the dragon painted. Is that any better? That seems better. But yeah, we can go back and forth kind of while we're waiting for the other thing to dry. Get these areas here. Now that it's dry, we can see where for sure we did miss some paint. That's the hardest part about the base coat, or the first layer. This is pretty good on it just standalone, so I'm not planning on gluing it to a base. Otherwise I would have done it at this point. Ooh, there's a big spot there. But yeah, I managed to find some lady fingers. Certainly not as good as if I could have gotten it to work making them myself. They're also like really teeny. I'm glad I got as many boxes as I did. Couldn't actually see the size of them, so I kind of had to guess. Just looking at, like, I just looked at the serving size and then how many servings it said per box, as well as the size of the box, and was like, I better grab 3. So I think that'll be like the exact amount that I'll need is that much. These are pretty tiny. I hope it works out. They seem pretty hard too. Not necessarily the soft spongy cake like. So, but I've also heard that stale ladyfingers can be even better, just because that way they don't soak up the liquid too fast. Because then once they get too much liquid, then they just fall apart and get all kind of become a mushy mess. You don't want that before you're even able to, like, build the various layers of tiramisu. That would not be good. But I love tiramisu, so. And I like baking. I know some people would think it's sad that I'm making my own dessert or whatever for my birthday. But I like doing it. I like baking. think we have a good enough foundation on the dragon. I think we've gotten pretty much everything just about. Can always come back and line in any areas or whatever if I find that's not the case, but we'll go and get started. Here, I'll show you my palette here. So I'll be using these 4 colors on the stone itself. This is the brown liner, and I'll use probably these 2 maybe for highlighting the dirt part, but here, oh, that didn't work out as well. I need to put things down. That's the 3 colors used to make these mixes. This would be a mix of tan shadow and dragon black. This is pretty much just tan shadow, and then this is the tan shadow with wolf gray. That's just dragon black, which is what we used to base coat with. Just gonna kind of stipple it on as I build up the different layers and stuff. It's gonna help really add to that idea that this is stone. Just a little bit back here just to kind of highlight and give that idea of reflected light. Definitely glad that there are things such as spots to help moderate. It would take me a lot longer to respond and do the same things while also running the stream. Okay, we'll see if I have this next color thing down in it. It's gonna be quite a bit different. Bring in some of that other color. This is a little different than what I normally do to paint stone. I normally do a lot more kind of wet blending and then stippling on top. But I just decided to kind of do things a little different. But if you're worried, this is looking really muddy, like as in it's a muddy color, or starting to look more like mud, we will bring it back to more of that stone coloring, grays. But if you look at stones, there usually is like some other colors, whether that be that if if they're shiny, then they're reflecting things in the environment around them, or, you know, it's just in the making of the stone itself. It's got some browns or beiges or whatever. So I'd mix up another color. Another gray. Just kind of stipple that in. Just here and there. Doing it this way, I'll probably end up doing like a glaze just to smooth things out. Whoops. Forgot to plug my computer in. Hopefully that didn't affect anything. Doesn't look like it did. Here, some areas I need to add more. Well, I might use some of that, the bushes, kind of teeny parts of it to put into some areas here and there, make it look like some moss is growing out. Really add to the idea. I'll show that again. Some of this stuff. You can break it up. And you can use it to imitate bushes. I think it's from Woodland Scenics, so they kind of do more of like the model train sets. So it'd be even smaller scale than what we typically do. Alright, that's looking. I'll just do a glaze of the wolf gray just by itself. Let's see how that looks. I think they definitely pulled it a little bit too far to the brown side with that tanned shadow. That would be the difference of doing it this way versus what I'm used to doing, because a darker color, when you're wet blending, it's gonna more likely overpower that lighter color. So you usually don't have this problem. Kind of a heavy glaze, but that, that's fine. kind of doing some wet blending now with that glaze and like the darkest shadow. I did kind of lose a lot of the shadows, so. And again, it was going way too brown on me. So I still got that brown undertones. I can bring it in to kind of do some highlights here. Bring highlights back in a little bit. Oh, we got that highlight. Now we have more gray undertone. This is helping to give just like kind of more of an interesting color to it, like I was talking about, but not bring it so far over into the realm of browns. I'm going to try to get this finished up before I get off. Sign off. So I like how this is turning out a lot better. I'm going to thin down that glaze that I'd made. It was also just definitely too heavy. Much lighter glaze. Make sure things are dry. There are definitely a couple spots there I can see here and there that in the cracks that didn't get paint in them. But now you can see the difference between a very light glaze and a heavy glaze, because you can still, it's not actually covering up the layers. It's just going to end up tinting it. All right, there we have it. And like I said, I'm probably going to take a little bit, some other flocking and stuff. Try and make it look a little bit like maybe there's some moss or grass that's been started growing on it, just to really add to that idea that this is a ruined statue. Like it's fallen apart. You know, the head's now fallen onto the ground. Who knows where the rest of the statue was, or maybe it was just a bust to begin with. So there we are. So yeah, we got started on the basing on both of these. Good start. This is already starting to finally dry up now. Pretty dry now, so can still kind of push it around a little bit. But yeah, probably by tomorrow I'll be able to paint on it without worrying too much about it. And for Thursday, the more basing, oh, not basing, scatter terrain is what I meant. So I've got these last few pieces. I've also got this, but I mean, it's pretty small. I'll probably get it done by Thursday or before Thursday. But yeah. These are the last few pieces to get done for my first session, which is in a couple of weeks. So I'm definitely well on my way to having things ready to go for my players. So I will, as always, put some chat socials in my chat without spilling the coffee on the new computer. Yeah, there are all the things in the chat. It's the same things that is up on the screen as well below the viewing area. So yeah, come hang out again Thursday at the same time, 1:15 p.m. Central Time. And we'll be working on some more scattered terrain. All right, have a good couple of days. I will see you Thursday. Bye.